This safety section is on confined spaces specifically. So what is a confined space? Confined space, a space that is large enough and so configured that workers can enter and perform work but limited or restricted means for entry/exit, not designed for continuous occupancy. Spaces are subject to potential toxic/flammable containments or oxygen-deficient atmospheres. Some confined spaces require a permit to enter. These are spaces that contains or has the potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere with potential for engulfing workers. Internally configured so that workers could become trapped or asphyxiated. Contains any serious safety or health hazard. The attendant is a person stationed outside of a confined space entry who communicates with the authorized entrants to ensure their safety. They monitor the atmosphere that affects entrance. They are responsible for non-entry rescues and activation of emergency response personnel. The authorized entrant is a person trained in the requirements of confined space entry and is authorized by a properly executed permit to enter a permit-required confined space. Isolation is a process of protecting workers against the release of energy and material into the space through blanking and binding of flanges, double block and bleeding pressure from valves and piping, physical disconnection of incoming lines and associated energy sources through LOTO, lockout-tagout. An assessment of the confined space and the potential hazards must be performed prior to employees entering the space. The space should be properly identified and indicate the type of confined space, if applicable. Spaces may be reclassified if the existing hazards change, and confirmation of the reclassification is confirmed by the safety department or if testing determines that the space was not properly classified. Confined space atmospheres shall be tested for oxygen content, flammability, and possible toxins prior to entry. The following test results must be maintained throughout entry. Oxygen content 19.5%, 21.5%. Flammability 0% of LEL. Toxic atmospheric testing, if any, shall be appropriate for potential exposures. Atmospheric testing shall be performed by trained personnel using properly calibrated testing equipment. Confined space entry permits must be properly completed prior to entry. All participants must execute permits indicating complete understanding of entry requirement. The permit becomes void if entry work is unexpectedly interrupted, entrants become ill or injured, ventilation equipment, alarm systems, or communications become inoperable or ineffective, attendant leaves the designated post, any site emergency condition arises. Entry permits are valid only for specific work shifts. Extended entries require reissuance or updating of existing permits with current job conditions and entrance. Confined space entry permits must be displayed at the point or entry. The supervisor is responsible for ensuring an appropriately qualified rescue team is available to safely retrieve incapacitated workers entering a permit-required confined space. Each entry permit will document the specific rescue plan given the specifications of the machine to be entered. No entrant will enter beyond arm's reach of the attendant without special provisions being documented on the entry permit.